Hello, welcome to TelecomTV. My name is Tony Chan, and with me today is Susan James, who's the head of NFV infrastructure at Ericsson. Susan, great to have you here.
Nice to be on TelecomTV again.
Yeah. Thank you. Since we're here at the NFV conference, what do you think is actually the key success factors for commercial deployments for NFV, and how do you think open source plays into that?
I think there's a number of things that we need to solve. One of the things is the characteristics and capabilities of the infrastructure. That's a given that those things need to be in place. And there are a number of initiatives within OPNFV that are addressing those sorts of issues. I think the next thing is how to lifecycle manage all of the different components in the stack. So, I mean, when you change one software component, how do you ensure that totality remains robust? And of course, there are a number of testing projects ongoing for doing that. But I think there's more work that we need to continue to do around the automation of onboarding of applications and these sorts of things. And I think thirdly, the area that we will continue to work on is definitely around automation and operation of the stack. And that I see as being one of the key areas that really need to be solved if you're going to deploy on mass scale as you see in China. So certainly OPNFV and a number of the other open source communities are starting to address those issues now.
Okay, you did mention the open source community in general, and since the founding of OPNFV 3 years ago, a number of other projects and initiatives has sprouted up from within the open source, I guess, greater community itself. As a vendor, how do you pick and choose, and how do you consolidate or support these multiple approaches to open source in different parts of the network, really?
Well, I think most of them have a very clear and defined role. So I think, you know, the merging of the Mano initiatives around sort of towards ONAP is a really good initiative where we see a number of overlapping projects being combined. But for OPNFV, I see that as having a unique role. It's really the only forum today where we bring all of the open source components together, put them together, do testing to make sure that we have the end-to-end functionality in place. So OPNFV has a key role in doing that. But I think that, you know, some of the projects will continue to consolidate, but I definitely see a place for OPNFV going forward.
Right, so it plays a part in kind of making sense of all the alphabet soup of open source in a certain way. What about security? Within the open source community itself, there's always talk of security, but is that part of, do you see there's enough attention paid to it?
It's one of the things that keeps me awake at night, actually. I think that going forward, we will need to continue to have a high focus on security. And it's not something that you can just solve at one level. It needs to have focus on each of the individual projects and each of the individual components in the overall solution. So we work with, you know, hardening guidelines on each of the specific components, but then how you actually build that up sort of layer upon layer. So you end up with an onion of security rather than just, you know, a hard shell around the edge. I think going forward, we will see breaches in different parts of the networks going forward. And what we need to do is make sure that those are minimized. But for certainly, we do need to continue to have an extremely high focus on security going forward.
And what about actually testing security? I mean, the OPNFV is a platform to integrate different solutions into a coherent solution, I guess, for the industry. Is there provisions for testing security within the different components?
I don't think there is today. If I look at what we do from a portfolio perspective, we are working with sort of an industry standard approach with using something called SysCat. But also looking at Nessus scans. So I think there is an opportunity to increase the approach, open approach on how we work with security. But I think it's going to be, it's something that's very dynamic. You know, security is something that you need to manage on a daily, weekly basis, not on a sort of 6-monthly, yearly basis. So I think we need to find a good way with working with security going forward.
As a vendor, Ericsson is bringing solutions to the market. Are you also telling people how to kind of test the solutions? I mean, one of the challenges of deploying anything commercially, especially within the telecoms environment, is making sure it works properly. Are you helping your customers test your solutions?
Absolutely. I mean, typically over the last 15, 20 years, we write what we call an acceptance test documentation. Of course, as we've sort of fast forwarded through time, we go through the process of automating those test cases. And of course, a number of those test cases are test cases that are developed in the open source communities. We put that in a particular framework. We select the right test cases that we think showcase the right kind of characteristics. And of course, in some cases, we complement that. I think one of the areas that we need to continue to work with is certainly in the end-to-end test cases that are testing all of not only the characteristics, but also the capabilities of the infrastructure that will be required going forward.
An organization like OPNFV obviously helps in kind of enabling inter-vendor or cross-vendor interoperability testing, that kind of thing.
But we also have other initiatives like the Interoperability Test Initiative, where we also have the ability to do interoperability testing there as well. So I think there are a number of initiatives that take place there. But I would say also within our solutions, we have different components from different suppliers. So you get interoperability within the solution as well. So I think it's a multifaceted approach that's required there.
Great. Thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you.